welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is a brand new rock star. I'm so excited to talk to him. He's a master of niching. He's also the CEO of Hook Agency. Tim Brown, thanks so much for joining me, man.
Hey, thank you very much for having me, Kirby.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, in doing a little bit of research about you, I understand that you used to work for another agency and then you decided to set out on your own. So I'm always curious about that. How was the transition from employee to entrepreneur? What surprised you and how did you grow from that?
Yeah, I don't think if I would have known everything that was going to happen in advance, if I had been able to see in the future, I don't think I would have started my own company. I think it's I think it might have been Elon Musk, or maybe this is misattributed, but he said being an entrepreneur is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. And I felt and understood that quote many times over the past 5 years. So it's been about 5 years since I went out on my own. It's also been like, I wouldn't trade it now though. You know what I mean? Right. Now that I've gone through it, just because I made it through some of the hardest parts. I think those first 5 years might be the hardest. Who knows? I don't know what the next 5 years is going to bring, but I do know that it is very difficult. I didn't expect it. I think I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't quite know that it was going to be sustained difficult year after year after year. I think it's different if you just want to be a freelancer.
Right.
And just like, that's totally like, to me, that's not that hard. If you want to be a freelancer, you can make decent money. It's a good thing. But if you want to hire people and like feed 15 mouths or whatever, it ends up being a real scary proposition sometimes, and payroll hits and payroll hits and payroll hits. And it's just, so it's definitely one of those scary, terrifying things sometimes. And then I like the control too. So I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And I hear that. One of my favorite, I had just started my business. And at one point an entrepreneur friend of mine said, "Hey, it's great. You get to choose whichever 100 hours a week you want to work." It's totally, and I was like, yeah, there's a little bit of truth in that for sure. So I noticed, that you have a specific niche with your company as you work with construction companies. So how has niching down helped you grow your business? And is that something that, obviously the first 5 years were challenging. So is niching down something you recommend?
Yeah, just started to say no to things outside of construction. So as of July, we won't take any new clients that are outside of construction.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I probably have about a year to go before I could fully say what we have been like half niched for about 3 years.
Okay.
And half niched is fine. It's just ultimately you don't get all the benefits of like, not, if you do say no to stuff, you're not running over here to like create a new process that's not going to serve you on the next project or the next retainer.
Okay.
So it's the beauty of it, from what I can tell, because I can tell that it's going to make my life easier. I don't know if it's going to make our revenue go way up or anything like that. So we'll see. But it's definitely going to make my life easier because we're not running over into a new direction to make a process. And every process that we create now on all these clients is then reusable. The work's not reusable, but every process that we make is reusable. And that's a big deal because it's a hard game to make new processes all the time. And I think it's been a challenge for me in certain ways now that we've been niched, is I don't need to make processes new all the time. It's like, as a visionary kind of running around and I like this, I have to like slow myself down and say, stop making a new process every 3 months. Like, so I've literally had to like tell myself no a lot more, but it's definitely, there's been less headaches like by far in the last 6 months because of this.
Well, this is super fascinating because I mean, I've heard people talk about niching and how it would help you grow your business because, the language you use when you talk to people is one, but I haven't heard anybody talk about the processes in place of setting up clients. And that's interesting. So it's not necessarily revenue, but it's about time.
Yep, exactly. So I 100% believe that the language and the way we're talking is more attractive. It is, I believe it's more attractive to those people.
Right.
But it just kind of offsets all the no's that you have to say because you're not saying yes to. So Yeah, I'd say it's a good thing because then you know
Mm,
where your ideal customer is if you have a very clear vision of who that ideal customer is. But I would say I can't say whether that's going to be a big hockey stick
right.
growth moment or anything. I do hope so. To be
Yeah.
honest, I do hope so. I'm excited about that. But even if it doesn't come, I love being niche now. It's so good. It's like even if there's no hockey stick moment, I just love and I feel much more confident
Mm,
in saying we know that we're going to make you money
yeah.
as a client of ours because
You've
we
done it.
we have like 5 case studies that are just like you.
Yeah.
You know, that's a beautiful thing. Like if
Yeah.
you, the more confident you get, the more niche you get, I think the more confident you get
Hmm.
because you're like, I can reproduce this result.
That's super interesting. It really is. So, one of the functions of marketing is to attract leads, right? That's the goal. So, what are some strategies that you've seen or that you suggest for someone you guys are
Mhm.
working with to get more leads through their website?
Yeah, I'll go two kind of routes just because I know we're talking to marketers too. And
Right.
well, like I, the stuff we do for ourselves is a little different than what we're doing for the clients.
Okay.
I did originally at one point, I was a marketing director for an agency,
Mhm.
and the things, because I didn't have any, they didn't have a budget for ads really. It's
Okay.
like so low. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like, whatever I could do with my time to create more opportunities and I found like 2 or 3 things. And I felt like I had a ton of time. I was
Yeah.
just sitting around. They weren't giving me client projects. They're just saying, make business happen for us. And I was like, I don't technically know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. And hey, you want an employee like that that says, I don't know necessarily, but I'm going to do everything I can to figure it out. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
I did figure it out. I doubled their leads that year somehow. That client or that my employer
Hmm.
had good lead flow before, so it wasn't starting from scratch, which is a totally different game.
Right.
But the things I was doing was content, a ton of content. And I was doing social. So obviously
Yep.
I believe in social. I just think it's really hard to do for clients.
Right.
Um, I was doing writing content, big guides. I was doing a lot of keyword research,
Yep.
finding keywords that people are searching, using the tool Ahrefs, ahrefs.com and SEMrush, semrush.com. I love these tools. I was looking at competitors, finding all the things that they're ranking for. I was just writing a ton of content.
Okay.
And then I also was going out and writing for other um, websites. Like I would go to like guys like you and other marketers, and I just be like, "Hey, I got your blog this month, man, or this week. Let me
Yeah.
just take that off your plate. I got your blog this month," and then I would link back to our website, and I was linking back to our best resources,
Yeah.
which were then getting signals to Google that these resources were important on our website, and that those two things alone with no budget or very, very low budget, we're increasing our lead flow
Mm,
significantly. And they're so simple. They're
right.
so simple. I was making improvements on the web. So I was, to complicate it further, I was doing other things. I was making posts on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I was making videos, but
Mm,
these were just other signals to prospects. They weren't
right.
like creating new leads.
Right.
They were just like, oh, this is also on the website. And I was making improvements to the website. So
Right.
I was always kind of like making our case studies better.
Yeah.
But those were the two fundamental things. So those writing for other websites and linking back and writing for our website, because those were the biggest things that increased leads, I realized we can help. So as I went out on my own, that's our main services now.
Yeah.
And basically it's trying to find those things. And it's not always going to be those exact two things, but finding those things for the industry, finding those heavy lifting items that are like serious and actually create leads. And it's kind of a difficult game to parse out are the real what's the real stuff
Mhm.
and what's just like fluff. Because
Right.
like I said, I still make a lot of videos and I still do a lot of other stuff, but like I don't necessarily know that those always create new opportunities. I still think of those as like supporting the opportunities.
Mm.
They're like sales enablement kind of. That's the way I think of video now.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, not to say if you blow up on YouTube, obviously it can be a real business
Yeah.
development strategy. But I haven't seen that yet, so I just still think of video as like sales enablement.
Well, one of the things you said is it's interesting. You were talking about writing in-depth SEO-friendly blogs and then writing for other folks. And you said, well, it was really simple. But I always say, simple is not the same as easy, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a simple practice, but you got to put in the discipline to do it. And so
yeah.
kudos for
And
that,
I
'cause
will
that's a
say,
lot of
like,
work.
because that's one of our main services, that has driven the niche thing.
Okay.
If we were just branding and positioning and messaging or design, I don't think I would have had to, like, it doesn't require you to niche. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's some marketing services that don't require you to niche. And then we were writing. So I was writing for medical insurance auto adjudication.
All right.
Like, I don't think we should have been writing those blogs. I mean, we did, and we ranked for it, and it makes that company money. But I felt like there was like a disingenuousness to being like the content machine behind a bunch of like weird technical industries.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
to me, that was very scary because I want to live an authentic life, and I want
Right.
like I'm a marketer, which technically, all marketers are liars, they say, but I feel like my life is generally very authentic, and I feel like
Yeah.
we're trying. So now our writers, even though they're not roofers or construction people, or plumbers or whatever, they all are kind of thinking about this stuff all the time, and at
Yeah.
least they've got like some semblance of subject matter expertise because they're constantly thinking about it. So that was one of the other things that drove us to niche.
That makes sense. That's cool. All right. Well, you're doing great. One final question for you.
Yes.
What is one tip? I mean, whether you're coaching people, you're doing podcasts, whatever, what's one tip that you give to help people grow, either personally or professionally?
I love this question. I might answer in a couple parts.
Sure.
One thing I always say is just double down on what's working.
Mm.
You know what's working now for you in your life and in your company. Don't run off and chase the shiny object.
Yeah.
Double down on what's currently working. Look at where you got all your leads this past year. Do twice as much of that.
Yeah.
Find ways to scale the hard stuff if it's the best stuff that you're doing. And I guess the other one on the personal side is just set bigger, weird, outlandish goals, and they'll inspire you and your team. And I always say, like, set a giant, massive, weird goal, and then say, what would have I done if I'm experiencing the joy and like satisfaction of completing that? What did I do? Like, imagine
Right.
yourself in that situation. What did I do to accomplish that? And then take massive action to do that. So, I mean, I'll throw out this book, 10X Rule. I love this book.
Yeah.
A
Grant.
lot of people don't like this guy because he's spicy, but
He's
Grant Cardone,
spicy.
he's very spicy and he's kind of weird. But sometimes you can get really good advice from people that you don't. I don't like his vibe sometimes, but I love the idea.
Oh, and I like that book. That's a good one for sure. So that's great. Great advice. I appreciate you taking the time, Tim. Thank you so much. And we'll have to do it again sometime. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.